Okay, here goes another lesson with Howie. So, hopefully maybe you can guess just a little bit about what we're going to talk about when you look at this picture here. Maybe not? Maybe? Okay, well, whatever. I'm going to get to it, right? Okay, so we are moving along pretty fast, just so you guys know. I don't even know what unit this is. Is this unit 6? Because we're in week 3. So we cover 2 units a week, so we go really fast. So moving right along. All right, so I want you guys to think about this. Even though I don't have you right in front of me, I want you guys to think about all the things that you use on a daily basis, okay? So you're walking down the grocery aisle and you're like, and you're like pulling everything off, you know, the grocery cart getter and all that stuff. And you're looking at everything that you eat or consume on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. It's a lot, right? And we take it for granted. I think we do, because we go to the store and stuff's always there. We can buy it, we can have it in our bellies, you name it. But what would happen if you went to the store and you had that? And you look around and you're like, nothing's here. We can't buy anything. So I want you guys to think about that, because what we're talking about today are some things that are going away, that they're not going to be replenished. They're going to affect our lives greatly. So I want you guys to keep that in mind, okay? So just think about that if you went to a grocery store and there was nothing there that you normally buy, it might be a little scary, right? So let's talk about resources. We have renewable resources, we have non-renewable resources, okay? Here's a good picture, although the picture is not quite as clear as I would have liked. Renewable resources, okay, look, you've got sun, you've got the energy from basically our water. That's just part of it, but that's kind of, I can't even read what that says, to be honest. Some hydro or something, but we do get energy from water, okay, from falling from the sky, should I say. You have a picture of leaves, you have energy from fire, volcanoes, and wind, okay? And then your non-renewable energy, which I'll go into the definition in just a moment, so be patient. But you have gases here, nuclear energy, coal, fossil fuel oil, so different things like that, okay, that non-renewable. They're not renewable, okay? But let me go through these right here. Natural resources are called renewable if they can be replaced by nature in less than 100 years after we use them. So don't get me wrong, there are some non-renewable energy resources that are replaced at some point, but it could be thousands of years. So does that do us any good? Not so much. So we call those non-renewable. So anything that's natural and renewable, it can be renewed within 100 years. So even like take for instance wood, using wood and cutting down a tree, even though that's horrible and we don't really like doing that, that's still considered a renewable energy source because it will grow within 100 years, okay? All right, but natural resources are called non-renewable if they cannot be replaced by nature in less than 100 years. So once we use up all of their supply, basically we'd have to wait forever to be replaced. So ultimately, they're not going to be replaced in our lifetime, in our parents' lifetime, in our kids' lifetime, in their kids' lifetime. Yeah, you get the picture, right? Those are non-renewable. And those are the things that are really going to start to affect us, okay? So let's go into a couple more definitions, and then I'll show you some lovely videos at the end that kind of tie it all up. But raw materials, I want you guys to understand where some of these non-renewable resources come from. They ultimately come from raw materials, so basically something needed to produce a finished product. So take for instance, this is a picture of cotton. This is the raw material that basically so many of our clothes, our blankets, so much is made from cotton you can't even imagine. But this is the raw material. You need that, okay? And then also you have wheat, you have different types of, I think one of the great examples in your lesson was awesome about a particular raw material that is used in order to refine it into iron, which we use for so many things, for steel, things that we make our buildings and our houses out of. So ultimately those are raw materials, okay? Typically they're going to come from the earth, such as gold, silver, iron, cotton, and so forth, okay? So raw materials typically are just, harvested from the earth. So let's talk a little bit about minerals. So a mineral is a naturally occurring crystalline solid, okay? There are thousands of different minerals in the earth, okay? Many of them can be mined or dug out of the earth, okay? And they're used to make various products, but most are non-renewable. So you'll see a lot of these. There's lots of different types of mines all around. Not the mines that you think of, from, well, although those still exist but not really are working, but the mines are very different nowadays, okay? It's not like you go into the, this tiny little cave and people are picking at the sides, with little axes and stuff. It comes in the form of something huge like this, okay? So different minerals are being mined, but again, a lot of them are non-renewable. So they dig out of the earth, but then once it's gone, it's like, okay, let's find a new place to dig, a huge crater, basically. But, that stuff is needed for our daily lives. So I'm not going to say that that's bad. It's just, it is what it is. That once that's gone, you got to move on. But there are all types of minerals. We process lots of different minerals to make different things, and anything from precious metals and gemstones to different things that we use, whether it's to cook with or to cleaning solutions, and you name it. Basically, it comes from minerals. Okay, and then fossil fuels. You guys have heard that term, I'm sure, a ton, because you hear about that all the time. Fossil fuels, fossil fuels. We're burning fossil fuels, and fossil fuels are basically another non-resource. Okay, and they usually typically include coal, which here's a lovely picture of coal. Petroleum, which is oil, okay, used for a lot of different things. Natural gas. They're called fossil fuels because they were actually formed from the remains of organisms that lived millions of years ago, and they basically accumulated underground, and over time all these layers of earth kind of settled on top of them, and due to different mechanisms with pressure, basically turned them into fossil fuels, which is kind of cool. But then we were able to use them in order to burn them basically and produce energy to make our cars go, to make our factories work, all sorts of things, trains, you name it. So a lot of times the petroleum is harvested from deep underground. A lot of times even in oceans is where we get a lot of that petroleum, and coal, stuff like that is basically comes from deep in the ground as well. Okay, so there's a little bit on fossil fuels. All right, now a little bit more about kind of the more personal aspect of this, the conservation of non-renewable resources. So I told you guys to think about, if you basically did not have what you use on a daily basis, how would you react? What would you do? How would you survive? Well, wouldn't you start to change your behaviors and change the way you utilize certain things? And that's what we're trying to do now. Okay, we're trying. Some people are trying. But basically, one of the big things is reducing the use of these non-renewable resources. There are other alternatives, okay? So you'll hear about that in just a moment. But reducing the use is one, because there are more greener ways, things that are renewable resources that we can use, as opposed to these non-renewable that will be gone in a certain amount of time, okay? Recycling. Okay, we can recycle a lot, so that basically some of these non-renewable resources are recycled and used again. So it's almost like we're not using them, kind of like, right? So recycling is a good thing, and then finding alternatives, because of course there are some green alternatives. So I want you guys to watch these next two videos. The second one is one of my favorite people of all time, but they're really good to just kind of inform you of some different things that maybe you didn't know about. So watch this first video.
Renewable energy, pronounced renewable energy. It's any natural resource that can replace itself quickly and dependably. It's an energy source that can never ever be used up. It can also be called by its synonyms, alternative energy or green energy. But what we really want to know is which resources are renewable and why. Solar power converts sunlight into electricity. The sun has been emitting light energy for billions of years, and it will continue to naturally replenish that energy for an estimated 7 billion years. For this reason, solar is considered a renewable energy source. Geysers result from water being superheated by magma at the Earth's core. The Earth's core constantly produces thermal heat energy. Whatever thermal energy we transform into electricity won't put a dent in the core's temperature. that heat is continually replaced. This is why geothermal power is derived from a renewable energy source. Wind power turns motion energy into electricity. Windy areas make for great windmill farms where motion energy is harvested from a continuous breeze. Next time you see a windmill, look a little closer to see a naturally replenishing renewable energy resource. Fossil fuels. Fuels that were formed deep within the earth from plant and animal remains that are millions of years old. This material can be burned once and only once for energy. You may also know it by its synonyms, non-renewable resources or unsustainable energy. The three major fossil fuels we use as energy sources are coal, natural gas, and oil. So I ask you, are fossil fuels renewable or non-renewable energy sources? Well, let's find out. Fuels made from fossils, like coal, are limited. Once it's mined and burned for energy, it's gone. Unless the dinosaur age happens again, coal will not be replaced, so it's non-renewable. Natural gas and oil, also fossil fuels, are non-renewable. There's only limited amounts of fossil fuels. Once they are pulled from the earth and burned for energy, they're gone. That's why they are non-renewable energy sources. All right, time to review. Energy harvested from wind is replaced quickly and naturally. Is this a renewable resource?
You betcha.
This pump extracts oil, a fossil fuel that's burned for energy and cannot be replaced. Is it a renewable resource?
No way.
Look at this energy resource group. Is it renewable?
Why, yes. Yes, it is.
What about this group? Is it renewable?
Not even close. I think I'm done here.
Okay, so anyways, I thought that was kind of a good little video. The next one is my favorite guy ever. So enjoy, and then we'll be done.
Believe it or not, we're using energy faster than we can produce it. And most of the energy that we are using comes from sources that are stinky, dangerous, and hazardous to the environment and to us. Eventually, we're gonna run out. There's gotta be a better way.
There is!
Renewable energy is brought to you by the future, where air is clean, grass is green, and polar bears have plenty of ice. That's not exactly what I meant.
Energy, it does work for us. As heat, it cooks our food and warms our homes, schools, and laboratories. As electricity, it powers our lights and our computers. As chemical bonds in our fuel and batteries, it makes our cars, trains, planes, and this forklift go. Welcome to the Planet Earth Simulator of Science! It's a car. Just go with me on this. Let's say this car represents our planet, the Earth. If you've ever gotten into a car, even on a winter day, you know it gets warm or even hot. In a car, you can usually let some of the heat out by rolling down your windows. Light from the sun passes through the glass, warms the seats, and then the glass in the window reflects heat down, back into the car, holding in extra heat. This is why people grow plants in glass greenhouses. You know, very few greenhouses are really greenhouses. So these windows are like the gases in the atmosphere. We call them greenhouse gases. For a very long time, the amount of energy coming in from the sun being held by the atmosphere and going out into space has been about the same. The heat energy has been in balance. But with burning fossil fuels over the last couple hundred years, we've increased the amounts of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. These extra greenhouse gases are trapping a little bit of extra heat. On Earth, We can't roll down the window. The world is getting warmer. This extra heat energy in the atmosphere is changing our weather patterns. We're getting intense heat waves, floods, and rising sea levels. We're seeing changes in whole ecosystems of plants and animals. Take our good friend, the polar bear. Oh, hi, Pete. It's not just affecting you guys. Thousands, if not millions, of plant and animal species around the world are facing extinction because of global warming.
Okay, so anyways, just a couple of good little videos to give you some background if you didn't already know that stuff. So, I mean, fossil fuels, again, they're just not necessarily doing the best for us, and they're going to be gone soon. So the big thing is there are a lot of alternatives now. So going green is not just a trendy thing, it's actually going to help everybody, including our Earth, but we'll see what happens. So there's a little bit on non-renewable resources. Hopefully you got something new out of it, and we'll see you next time.